right, so if you've covered the distance statistics tutorials and the time-based statistics tutorial, it's time to cover the summary pages. In this tutorial, we're going to focus only on the upper table, so this table right here, the overview of distance-based statistics for the current day, current day, current week, current 8 hour, whatever time frame you're looking at. Again, this theory applies to all other time frames as well, but we're just going to look at the current day. Now, this is not going to be too complicated of a tutorial. All the main statistics we have already covered in a separate tutorial. So this, you've already seen it in distance tutorials, that these are simply metrics from the distance pages, but we're going to dive into it nonetheless. But what we're going to focus on is simply saying, what are these statistics, or what do these statistics mean? We're not going to focus yet on how we're going to use them. We'll focus on that in a later tutorial. For now, it's just, okay, what is the data we're looking at? So let's dive into it. We're looking here at obviously the asset. So which asset? And for each asset, we see the distance of the daily open to the current P2. So for example, we know that CRV-USDT has a distance from daily open to current P2 at 7.3%. And we know that only 9.3% of days have a P1 with a bigger distance than 7.3%. Now this metric right here should probably already ring a bell to you. This is what we saw at the distance page, and I actually prepared a visual to make it more clear. So for example, here we see another example of LDO with 7.1% distance from daily open to P2, 7.1% distance from daily open to P2. And we can see that only 5% of days have a pivot more than 7.1% away from the daily open. And you can see that here it's the same. So basically this is just this statistic right here, but then for all assets, right? So you just have a nice overview of all these assets, which means that, you know, it's ordered by default, unless you press another header, but by default, this is ordered by this metric in ascending order. That means that the assets that are on top have the highest probability of holding P1, right? And then the lower you go, the lower, or at least the less confidence we have that P1 will hold, right? It's not impossible, but we have less and less confidence. Another good thing to note is that these statistics apply automated filtering, right? So we have that automated filtering function that we discussed in a separate tutorial right here. This is applied in this page or in this statistics as well, right? So you don't have to take that into account. This basically just gives us a more accurate statistics. Now, moving on to the next one, we see then what the distance is between P1 and P2 and how many days have more distance. So you probably already have guessed it. This is this metric right here. So we can see that here as well. Going back to the LDO example, we have 8.7% distance between P1 and P2, as we can see here. Then we have 58% days with more distance, as we see here as well. So that's basically the same thing, right? It is just a nice overview of all the assets with all these statistics. And then we can, for example, see that STX has only an 8.7% of days would we have a P1 with bigger distance. So that means that P1 is likely to hold, and 37% of days have more distance. So even though we know it's P1 is likely to hold, there's not much chance of further displacement here, but I want to get into this more later on how to use it, how to interpret it. For now, all we're going to focus on is what is the data we're looking at. So to recap, this percent P1s with bigger distance is this metric right here from the distance page, and the percent days with more distance is this metric right here. Then we go on to the next one, and P1, P2 direction. The P1, P2 direction is simply indicating which direction P1 and P2 got put in. So if it's bullish, that means P1 is the daily low. And if it's bearish, that means P1 is the daily high. So let's just look at that. For example, now we have STX USDT. Let's go there. STX USDT. We can indeed see, let me put on the indicator. We can indeed see that P1 is the daily low and P2 is the daily high. So simply when it's bullish, it means that the direction is in there, and that means that, you know, P1, the daily low, was put in first and the daily high is put in second. that's what this means. And how we're going to use that, again, we're going to look at that in the next video, or in 2 videos from now, I think. And then the current retracement, let's take another one, CRV, or well, let's take one more actually for P1, P2 direction. ETH USDT is bearish, and then if we go there, we see that indeed P1 got put in first, so P1 is the daily high and P2 is the daily low. For now, right? Just indicating what the current P1, P2 are doing. Now, current retracement, what that means is that if the current, where the price is currently at, or at least where it was from the last refresh, because you know it refreshes every 5 minutes, but from the last refresh, basically the current price action, where price is at in terms of retracement between P1 and P2. So we have here current retracement between P1 and P2 of 0.534. And if you pull a fib between this and here, you can see that indeed it is somewhere along that 0.534. In this case, it already got, this is more or less 5.3. Now it's gone a little bit higher, but like I said, it is refreshed every 5 minutes. So if this would refresh again, you would see that we can refresh it here to see if it's already updated. No, it did not. In 1 minute, it will get updated. But this just shows where price is approximately at in terms of retracement. If you pull the fib from P1 to P2, where price is at. And that's already all of it for the distance statistic table. We'll close off with one more to quickly show everything in one place. So we have XLM here. And we can see that P1 is bullish because P1 is the daily low. All right, so bullish. And then here we can see that retracement is at the 0.536. And here you see if you pull a fib from P1 to P2, indeed at the 0.536. So that's all there is to it. So these data points right here, we already knew them. It's just an overview of all of them on the different assets. And then we have which direction and which retracement level they are currently at. How we're going to use that, we're going to figure that out later. We're going to see that in a separate tutorial. But first, we're going to dive into this table right here. And for that, I'll see you in the next video.